recalling everything that just happened. Virginie still felt like she was in a dream. Ever since she was exiled to the Tower of Divine Authority of Blue Star Civilization and became an NPC, she had already let go of everything in the past. Alan and Anna, whom she cared about the most, were gone. And in her eyes, she had killed more than 100 Zauzenork slaves, and that revenge was also avenged. She didn't feel anything about the accusations and exiles from Ulubobo and others afterwards. Instead, the change of environment allowed her heart to slowly calm down. Blue Star, a civilization completely different from Jiaoyang civilization. Although she could only contact the players who came to the Tower of Divine Authority, she also felt that this civilization seemed to be more dynamic than Jiaoyang civilization. The personality and behavior of players cultivated in modern society are naturally different from those in the feudal era of Jiaoyang civilization. And during this period, in fact, Virginie's mind was completely clear. She knew clearly that these players from Blue Star were not her sons and daughters, even though these players might just want to get the Book of Divine Authority from her for free, but she was also willing to help them. Anyway, she had no desire or motivation to live. Before she died, she could use her remaining things to help others, and she felt that her death was meaningful. But suddenly, what happened just now happened. An assassin player from Blue Star came to the Tower of Divine Power alone, and killed her clone in seconds. And even killed her original body in seconds. This shocked her too much. I remember him. She still remembered that this player codenamed Shadow brought another assassin sister when he first came. At that time, Shadow killed her gold level clone boss in seconds, but she was not too surprised because she had seen many players who could kill gold level boss in seconds. Even though it appeared a little early, it was still within her cognition. Until this time, Shadow appeared again and killed her instantly, and she couldn't even escape. This made her feel this player is completely different from other players. Not only is she different from other players on Blue Star, but she is also different from all the players that Jiaoyang had met. Originally, Virginie didn't feel sorry when she realized that she was killed. Her last thought was her children. Alan and Anna, children, Mom is here to accompany you. But just as she was thinking this, she suddenly found that she appeared on the edge of a sacred white jade maze, and a system prompt came from her mind, telling her that she came to a place called Land of Judgment. I am not dead. She thought she would die completely. Unexpectedly, she was still alive. Before she could make any reasonable guesses, she fell into darkness. This was the process of her memory being checked and preparing for trial. Then, she woke up again. When she opened her eyes again, she was flying high in the sky, arrived above the White Jade Maze. Originally, she couldn't fly here, but now, she was controlled by an absolute power, allowing her to stop steadily in midair. And what appeared in front of her was a white jade platform, emitting a soft white light, illuminating the entire space. On the platform, in the middle was the man wearing black leather armor, standing in a black flame-like smoke, with a white lifeless mask on his face, which was terrifying, and behind the assassin. As soon as Virginie took a look, she felt that her eyes were shrouded by a sacred golden light, and she couldn't see the man's figure at all. This made her heart tremble. She knew that it was an existence that she couldn't touch at all, much stronger than Ulubopo. Virginie didn't think much, but looked at Qin Feng. This assassin player from Blue Star brought her too much shock, and the current situation also confirmed her previous guess. This player is definitely not an ordinary player. If it were someone else, they would definitely be a little nervous and scared at this time. But Virginie didn't. After all, she wasn't afraid of death, and she had no attachment to this world. She slowly calmed down, and looked at Qin Feng with gentle eyes. Where is this place? Who are you? Hearing her question, Qin Feng spoke calmly. His words did not use the Daxia language, nor did he use the ancient language of the gods. In fact, using the ancient language of the gods is more impressive. But Virginie was obviously not very proficient in it, and she couldn't understand many words. So, he spoke the aristocratic language of the Jiaoyang civilization where Virginie was. When Qin Feng followed Virginie's perspective and observed all her memories, he naturally became proficient in the language she spoke, and even spoke it very standardly, removing Virginie's slight accent. I said, when I come, you will die and be redeemed. Here is the place of judgment. It is the edge of the world, the end of time, the heaven of the penitent, the hell of the sinners. These words were told in a leisurely manner. Virginie was a little surprised when Qin Feng opened his mouth. This Blue Star assassin actually knew the language of her hometown. When she understood what Qin Feng said, she was even more surprised. The place of judgment. Haven't I been judged and exiled? Qin Feng smiled faintly. The exile you experience is not called judgment. It is just the harm done to you by the powerful. Only I am the real judge. In my eyes, you are innocent, and everything you have experienced can be redeemed. Your enemies are not completely dead yet. Your perpetrators are still feasting, and your children are still in reincarnation. The truth of civilization is infinite reincarnation until sublimation. Follow me. I will let you see everything. Virginie's expression was just surprised at first, but soon became shocked, and she even stayed there. Originally, she thought she had let go of everything, but when she heard Qin Feng say that her children were still in reincarnation, she couldn't help it at all. In Jiaoyang civilization, there is also a saying similar to the reincarnation of life and death in Daxia, because her mood could not be suppressed all of a sudden. After all, the current situation is completely beyond her understanding, and the one who appeared in front of her is definitely beyond her cognition? Does this mean that her children are indeed still in reincarnation? My children. They are reincarnating? Can I still see them? Virginie became excited on the spot. But under the control of an absolute power, she was completely unable to move at all. This made her very uncomfortable. But it also made her realize how powerful the person in front of her was. And when she got excited, Osirios and Grey Chicken, who were hiding nearby, rolled their eyes. Osirios. Tsk, tsk. Our human assassin is really a charlatan. He makes people so excited just by talking. Grey Chicken. No. Can you use more appropriate words? The two of them were hiding nearby, and Virginie didn't notice them at all. It wasn't just because Qin Feng provided a level 60 stealth level. Virginie, who was in the Land of Judgment, had many abilities disabled, including the anti-stealth ability. Qin Feng didn't bother to pay attention to what Osirio and Grey Chicken were saying. Qin Feng didn't answer Virginie's somewhat excited question. Instead, he raised his hand and played a memory next to him. It was Diabad's memory. Anyone who has been tried in the Land of Judgment will have their memory stored there and can be played at any time. But it can't be played elsewhere. This function works pretty well now. Qin Feng thought to himself. Diabad never dreamed that his memory would be used by Qin Feng in this way. He didn't expect that his father's constant search for women would spread to other civilizations. It's different from Qin Feng checking his memory. Yin Feng checked the memory, and the speed was very fast, which was equivalent to being directly absorbed by him. But now playing the memory and presenting it in the form of pictures would be much slower. Qin Feng was not in a hurry to subdue Virginie and cooperate with her. He must let her know all the causes and consequences, mainly the truth of the reincarnation of civilization. This part of the truth, if I describe it in words, Qin Feng feels that it will affect my power too much. Simply use other people's memories to let her understand. Suddenly, Qin Feng looked at Ashashi's to the right and behind with a little suspicion. This woman didn't solve the puzzle for him. Maybe because that would lose her power. Half an hour later, the memory from Diabad was played, their civilization, after experiencing fusion, sublimated. During this period, their war civilization also circulated a lot of knowledge about the reincarnation of civilization, as far as Diabad was concerned. It was very detailed. It was enough to let Virginie fully understand the truth about the reincarnation of civilization. This is reincarnation of civilization. Although Virginie was curious about who these memory images belonged to, it was obviously not important. She was only surprised that the judge in front of her could present other people's memories so richly and in detail in front of her, which shocked her greatly. This ability is simply unheard of. Although some professions can view other people's memories, it is impossible to be so detailed. What's more, this memory comes from people of other civilizations. This made Virginie realize that the assassin in front of her was very powerful. So, Alan and Anna are not dead? If Zhao Yang's civilization has not been sublimated successfully, my children are constantly reincarnated. In a sense, they are still alive. As long as they are still alive, I may see them again. When Virginie thought of this, her mood suddenly became excited, and her eyes became full of hope and desire. Originally, she had lost all motivation to live, but now, she seemed to be alive again. That's right. Qin Feng saw that she really understood, so he smiled faintly. Now I am an assassin of Blue Star. You just need to follow me. When I arrive at the Land of Order, I will give you more answers and hope for you to go back. This made Osirio complain again. Osirio, hey! 6. Qin Shi Huang, send money. This trick is a trick for human assassins to play. Grey Chicken, who is Qin Shi Huang? Osirio, I can see that you are uneducated. Come, let me tell you. Virginie couldn't hear it, but Qin Feng could hear the complaints of these two guys, and his eyelids jumped immediately. It will be over in a while, so I have to deal with them properly. And for Virginie, all that she just learned has changed her worldview drastically. She has hope and determination again. But at the same time, she is also full of worry and fear. She glanced at Qin Feng and was deeply shocked by the fluent Zhaoyang civilization, aristocratic language spoken by Qin Feng. She thought, the existence in front of her was definitely at the level of a god, at least much higher than Ulupobo. So she nodded slowly and looked at Qin Feng seriously. Okay, my god, I am willing to be your follower, as long as you can help me return to my civilization. Han Feng seemed very calm. There will be that day, but soon, Virginie asked with some concern. By the way, I suddenly thought of, although Alan and Anna Du is still alive, but I have been exiled. I, who have been exiled, will be wiped out from our civilization when the God-forsaken game comes. When we enter the God-forsaken game. I had just taken the children to escape into the mountains. If I suddenly disappeared at this time, the reincarnation of civilization will return to the moment when the God-forsaken game came, just like Qin Feng's rebirth. The moment he opened his eyes, it was exactly the exact moment when the God-forsaken game came. For him, rebirth with the memory of the previous life will have a sense of separation similar to rebirth. But for others, the moment everyone is reborn, all the memories of the God-forsaken game will be cleared, and only a few people's memories will be slightly modified. For example, Qin Xiaoyou. She will not have any sense of separation. In her perception, the moment of rebirth is just like usual. Nothing special. Her memory is completely connected to the previous one. So, when the world where Virginie is in enters reincarnation, Alan and Anna are equivalent to only two people in the dangerous mountains in the memories of these two children. They have just escaped from the slave riot. Their mother, Virginie may have died in the manor with other family members during the slave riot, or she may have died at the hands of slaves on the road. In short, their memories will be corrected. Continuing with the previous memories. Continue. They are not yet 18 years old. They can't enter the godforsaken game. 2 people in the wild. No one to protect them. How can they survive? Virginie suddenly turned pale. They will be caught by the orcs? How will the orcs abuse them? Virginie was about to go crazy when she thought of this. Qinfeng saw this situation and immediately took measures, saying to her calmly, "All this is false. Only the moment when civilization sublimates is the end. Only if you survive can you have the opportunity to change all this." After hearing this, Virginie finally calmed down a little. It must be said that as a mother, she is really strong. In this case, she immediately understood that no matter what the situation is over there, she must now cooperate with the powerful existence in front of her. It is difficult to return to Jiaoyang civilization by her own strength. Even if she goes back, it is difficult for her to change the ending by her own strength. After all, even if Jiaoyang civilization re-enters civilization, Ulupobo may live well in the land of order, and she can't beat Ulupobo. Then I want to ask, she forced herself to calm down, and then asked a question. Has our Jiaoyang civilization sublimated successfully now? Hearing this question, Qinfeng was silent for a moment. How the hell do I know this? But if you answer directly that you don't know, it will be very uncool. Fortunately, Qinfeng has been smart since he was young. He was silent for only half a second, and then said, "Time is relative. I can't answer you now. You will find the answer yourself in the future." This is very mysterious. It seems that he said something, and it was very profound. But in fact, he said nothing. Virginie nodded as if she understood. But she always felt that something was wrong. Of course, she wouldn't think too deeply about it. After all, she knew that if Qinfeng wanted to kill her, she would not be able to survive. Now she wants to return to her civilization. She can only rely on Qinfeng. Moreover, from the perspective of a player, she only knows that Qinfeng's current achievements are simply impossible to achieve. Her current strength has been developed for more than 8 years in Jiaoyang civilization, but Qinfeng has only developed for more than a month, and he can kill her in seconds. Doesn't this explain the problem? Now, I will send you back to the game world of Blue Star, my hiding place. Qinfeng said, "I will restore your NPC functions and give you 50,000 years of life. First, make a batch of divine books for me. In addition, you can use your strength at will after you go back, but don't make any moves without my permission." Virginie bowed her head slightly. Yes, while agreeing. She was secretly shocked. She is an NPC who was exiled and arranged by the godforsaken game. The range of action is limited to the Tower of Divine Power, and the conditions for taking action are also restricted. But she heard what Qinfeng meant. When she was sent back to the game by Qinfeng, all her action restrictions seemed to be cancelled. It can restore my NPC functions. It can also cancel my action restriction. Is it the administrator of the godforsaken game? Virginie couldn't help thinking. Finally, Qinfeng and Virginie reached a cooperation. He first consumed 1,355 points of divinity, and then continued to replenish it many times before sending her out of the Land of Judgment in the Evil Spirit Academy in the ruins of the Demon City. A Moon Crescent Queen, Virginie, wearing a moon-white robe, appeared in the underground area of the Evil Spirit Academy without any restrictions on her movements. And according to Qinfeng's guidance, she found the big room assigned to her. As she listened to a series of system prompts in her mind, her expression became more pious. That assassin. It's incredible. And Qinfeng, in the Land of Judgment, did not go back for the time being. When Virginie was sent away, Osirio jumped out first and laughed. Human assassin. It's a pity that you don't become a charlatan. Qinfeng, it seems that I will let you die a few more times in the future. The effect of this deflected gauntlet is good, and I haven't used it yet. He pretended to look at the legendary wristband in his hand. Hartmann's Deflection Gauntlet. When Qinfeng takes damage, transfer all damage to nearby pets' mounts. Sometimes it's not useful, but sometimes it's a sure kill. Osiris looked terrified. You are murdering your pet? But the gray chicken next to him was a little unhappy. Qinfeng grabbed its neck. What's wrong with you? Were you bullied by Osiris? The gray chicken drooped its wings, looking sad. No, I just feel sorry that such a good mother was fooled by you, alas. When I think that my mother was also fooled by you, my heart hurts. Qinfeng. I thought it turned out that the elementary school student missed his mother. The gray chicken suddenly became excited. Who are you talking about? Elementary school students? Brother G, I am not an elementary school student. Qinfeng laughed and stretched out his hand to flick its head. You don't look like an elementary school student. What are you? The gray chicken was dissatisfied and flapped its wings. Brother, my growth value has been full. Let me grow up quickly. Qinfeng, just because you are picky about food. The growth materials are so difficult to get. I have asked the Daxia officials to collect them. I haven't seen any of the 3 materials you need for growth yet. Osirio moved over, sighed, stretched out his claws, and patted the gray chicken's shoulder. Why are you so anxious to grow up? Now that I think about it, the stupidest idea when I was a child was to hope that I would grow up quickly. And when I grew up, I hoped that I would return to my childhood. Gray chicken, Jimao. Do you still have your childhood memories? Osirio spread his dragon claws. No, but this is a famous saying of the humans on Blue Star. I think it makes sense. Qinfeng ignored the life discussion of the two dragons and phoenixes. He sat down face to face with Ashaxisa. Now it's time to hand in homework? Fortunately, Qinfeng has learned the ancient divine language well recently. Ashaxisi smiled slightly, communicated with him in the ancient divine language for a moment, and chuckled. It seems that it won't take long for you to fully master the false language of the ancient gods, and then you can start learning the rules of creating the real language? Yeah. Han Feng nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. This thing is really much harder to learn than ordinary languages. It's mainly the ancient god language that spans the entire universe. Qinfeng can't understand many things in nouns, because those words refer to things that have never appeared on Blue Star. If it weren't for the arrival of the god-abandoned game, which improves people's spiritual attribute, it would be difficult for ordinary people to learn this ancient god language. At this time, Qinfeng summarized that this time when he returned to the Land of Judgment, he consumed a total of nearly 30,000 years of life, and gave Virginie 50,000 years of life to let her create the Book of God's bestowal. Qinfeng only had a little over 100,000 years of life left. Fortunately, I bought the mask for free before. Otherwise, I would have no money. Qinfeng was quite fortunate. He stayed with the Shashis for a while before he got up and left the Judgment Land. Unexpectedly, as soon as he left the Judgment Land and returned to the Evil Spirit Academy, his friend's private chat popped up. It was a light rain in the evening, and there was an urgent voice message. God, something happened. An epic boss appeared in our northern ice city. More than 40 people have been harmed. That is a humanoid boss wearing a hat, sitting on the top of the building, throwing a fishing rod out. As long as there are people around, they will be hooked and then be caught and swallowed by the boss. We are evacuating the area, and at the same time let the official army prepare. But we dare not act rashly, and that boss can move freely. Does the god have any information about the boss? How to deal with it? Can we go up? Hearing this information, Qinfeng was a little surprised. The humanoid NPC wearing a hat. Could it be that fisherman? But isn't that fisherman the boss of the Great Cold Country? Why did he come to our ice city? Could it be? Qinfeng's face became a little cold. He quickly replied, "You are no match. Evacuate the crowd first. Don't let anyone get close, and wait for me to deal with it." Wang Yewei was surprised. Will you be able to get there in time? Qinfeng, about half an hour. During this time, I will teach you to say a few words in a certain language, and you can convey them to the people in Bingcheng and ask them to shout at the NPC. Maybe it can temporarily deter it. In addition, you can check if there are people from the Great Cold Country near Bingcheng. This boss may be brought here by the Great Cold Country. Hearing this, Wang Yewei immediately responded seriously. Okay, Qinfeng prepared to log off. If in the game, it only takes a moment to teleport to the ruins of Bingcheng, but in reality, there is no public teleportation array in Bingcheng, and players cannot build a teleportation array in reality at this stage. So Qinfeng cannot teleport and can only fly over. At present, only Qinfeng is capable of handling such things. Strange. It's just such an epic boss. It's obvious that I will kill it. What are the people of Dahan Country thinking? This boss can't come here by itself, right? This is definitely unrealistic, because without the help of players, it is difficult for the boss to cross such a long area in reality. Qinfeng did not underestimate it, but immediately became alert. If there is no backup plan, or if there is no alliance, Dahan Country will never dare to do this. Is there another trap for me in Bingcheng? Or want to lure me offline? Take the opportunity to do something, just as Qinfeng was guessing and logging off. In the deep sea of the East China Sea in the Magic City, the 6 invisible Florida players, one of whom has the scanning ability, has already concentrated on launching the scanning skill. His professional scanning ability can scan the outlines of all organisms within tens of kilometers. Of course, he cannot scan the translucent body of the player who logged into the game. It was this ability that allowed him to scan that someone would occasionally go offline to eat under the building of the Evil Spirit Academy. That was Qinfeng. The Great Cold Country has already taken action, and the news should have spread. Wait for Shadow to go offline, and then drop the Rubik's Cube to the target location, just as they held their breath and stared. Here it comes. Shadow is offline. Now let Shadow face the horror of the mechanical Rubik's Cube. Qinfeng went offline and appeared in a bedroom in the Pure Soul Land. When he returned, the lights in the bedroom automatically turned on. It wasn't automatic. It was the mechanical maid beside the bed who sensed his return and turned on the bedroom light. It's very difficult to make the people in Ice City speak the ancient divine language, even if it's just to teach them how to pronounce it. Qinfeng had a headache. Once it's exposed, it won't be able to deter the epic fishing boss. After thinking about it, he decided to send an audio clip directly through the communication crystal ring. It was a warning in the ancient divine language, which probably meant that this was the kingdom of the gods. So leave quickly, and persuade the other party to identify the sinner who sent him here, so that his sins could be forgiven. Of course, this sentence is completely nonsense. Can the epic boss who was sent to his mouth still escape? It's a trick. If the other party is obedient, that's great. If not, that's fine, because it's just a temporary delay anyway. When Qinfeng arrives at Ice City, the boss will be dead. So, Qinfeng quickly used the communication crystal ring to speak an ancient divine language and sent it to Wang Yewei, asking her to pass it to the official staff of Ice City and let the other party play it next to the fishing boss. But he had just sent the message. Suddenly, he felt a vibration coming from the surroundings. At the same time, A burst of corruption affix energy spread around, covering several kilometers around, dragging everyone into a combat state, unable to perform online operations. Then, a guild's hideout management interface popped up in front of Qin Feng. On that interface, the emerald-level defense barrier belonging to the Evil Spirit Academy was actually destroyed and a hole was torn open. Someone is attacking. I just returned to reality and they attacked. Could it be? Qin Feng quickly walked towards the teleportation array of the Pure Soul Land. If you take the right path, it will take half a minute to get out. But if you take the teleportation array, you can reach the ground area of the Evil Spirit Academy in less than 5 seconds. Just 10 minutes before Qin Feng went offline. The hideout of the Evil Spirit Academy on the east coast of the Magic City. There are towering elevator buildings here, where tens of thousands of members of the Skydome Guild live. Today, many areas of Blue Star have become turbulent areas and violent areas, and the speed of life passing is 10 times or 100 times. There are also countless monsters wreaking havoc everywhere, and it has become a doomsday land. And in reality, killing monsters cannot gain experience points, which means that people rarely leave the safe area and go to those dangerous areas. In contrast, the players of the Skydome Guild are like living in heaven. Although the hideout of the Evil Spirit Academy belongs to the Shadow, but they have the right to use it and are protected by the Shadow, which gives them an unimaginable sense of security. Usually, most players will participate in online activities in the godforsaken game. But there are also people taking turns to guard the offline hiding places. Haidian Dadaolung is the captain of the players who is assigned to guard the gate at this moment. He is a middle-aged man of the warrior profession, carrying 2 platinum-level battle axes on his back, wearing a metal horn helmet on his head, and standing at the gate of the Evil Spirit Academy, looking outside vigilantly. There are several team members behind him, observing other directions. Although this is the territory of the Shadow, they have not relaxed their guard at all. After all, this is reality. Once they relax, it is likely to bring huge disasters. In the words of Haidian Dadaolung, although the Shadow can solve everything, you can't rely on the Shadow for everything. The middle-aged man looked serious, and suddenly, his eyes under the horn helmet suddenly focused on a certain place. In his eyes, a woman riding a black leopard was reflected. The woman was petite and wore a black leather armor. As the black leopard ran, the woman's long hair fluttered behind her, giving people a very elegant feeling. Under the gray sky, the hiding place was desolate. Occasionally, a few monsters crawled by quickly, and the woman casually threw out the Shadow Blade to deal with them. Although her Shadow Blade did not have as high damage as Qin Feng, could not return the cooldown, and could not be infinitely ejected. But the platinum level skills were more than enough to deal with some small monsters. Under the vigilant eyes of Haidian Dadaolung and others, the woman riding the black leopard came to the gate of the Evil Spirit Academy, shook her long hair, and turned over to get off the mount. Oh my god, this woman is not bad. Is she looking for someone? A young guard saw this and his eyes lit up. At present, this is a large player residential area, and there is a Shadow sitting in it, and there are many around other guilds moved their hideouts here, including several official guild hideouts. So it was like a brand new human settlement where people would often come to look for people, looking for someone. Haidian Dadaolung sneered, took off his horn helmet, and revealed a middle-aged man's face full of vicissitudes. I know her, one of the managers of the Rose Guild, Little Wildcat. Rose Guild. Oh my. Originally, several young men admired the woman, but when they heard about her guild, they immediately looked down on her. Who doesn't know what kind of people the Rose Guild is? It's just that they didn't provoke their Sky Guild. Otherwise, they would have been razed to the ground by the Sky Guild. However, these young men and Haidian Dadaolung didn't understand that the people in this guild didn't even dare to provoke their Sky Guild. So they dared to provoke Shadow? Isn't that lighting a lantern in the toilet? Obviously. The members of the Skydome Guild had heard about what happened in the Tower of Divine Authority outside the ruins of the Demon City. Little Wildcat. What are you doing here? Haidian Dadaolung looked at the woman in black leather armor with caution through the defensive barrier. As the captain of the guard, he could give others temporary permission to enter and exit the Evil Spirit Academy, mainly because someone would come to visit relatives and friends in reality, which would be more convenient. But it was obvious that Haidian Dadaolung did not intend to let the Little Wildcat in. The Little Wildcat shook her long hair and blinked as she spoke. Don't be so hostile. Everyone. I know that our guild has offended the Shadow God, so I came here specifically to apologize to the god. Brothers, can you give me a favor? She felt uncomfortable when she mentioned this. Originally, she wanted to go to the Tower of Divine Authority to find Shadow. But when she arrived, not to mention Shadow, even other players had run away. There was no way. She could only choose to find Shadow offline. But when she said that, Haidian Dadaolung, get lost. Little Wildcat. Of course, this woman was unwilling to leave like this, but she pestered them and was even willing to pay the price of hundreds of years of life to make them compromise. Unfortunately, the more she was willing to pay, the more Haidian Dadaolung felt that she was plotting something bad. So how could he let her succeed? Being stopped outside like this made Little Wildcat very unhappy, thinking to herself, you really don't know what's good for you. Aren't you afraid that I will get along with Shadow in the future and make things difficult for you? The other party didn't let her go, and she couldn't force her way in. She could only stay here and argue with the other party, and more than 10 minutes passed. Little Wildcat, I'm here to apologize after all. You have to help notify the Great God. Just then, boom! Everyone present felt a violent tremor on the ground. Then, a star blue light descended from the sky and landed outside the gate of the Evil Spirit Academy, accompanied by a pitch black Rubik's Cube with electric current wrapped around it, which landed with a bang. Mechanical Cube Helga Vassinger Elf 30. Great. Legendary. When the black cube wrapped with electric current landed outside the Evil Spirit Academy, the surrounding ground trembled. Then, a series of purple-black lightning grids unfolded around the cube. Only 1 point of corruption of fixed energy surrounded the surroundings, making everyone enter a combat state and preventing them from logging into the god-forsaken game. Yo, ZZZZ. On each face of the black cube, there were many purple-black electronic eyes, which quickly looked around and then curiously said in English, "This is the Great Shia Kingdom mentioned by North American players, Good Hunting, Slow, Arctic 11, etc." A total of 11 people. If the North American officials knew that this cube said such a sentence just after landing, they would probably die on the spot. Obviously, this Rubik's Cube looks like it's not doing its job, but it knows exactly what the North American officials are thinking. Isn't it just trying to kill someone with a borrowed knife? Although the Rubik's Cube wants to have some fun, how can it be happy to be used by these low-end human players? So it just got teleported here and directly exposed the other party's past. Heidi and Dada Long and others were also shocked. What's wrong with this legendary boss? Saying such outrageous words as soon as it came here? Very good. Now they all know that this boss is from North America, and it was sent by North American players, and even know the code name of the specific person in charge. But at this moment, Heidi and Dada Long and others didn't bother about this at all, because the most urgent task now is to deal with the legendary boss in front of them first. Alert. Alert. Quickly notify Shadow. Heidi and Dada Long's pupils shrank instantly, and he had no time to pay attention to the wild cat outside the gate. He quickly raised his hand and shouted in the guild channel of the communication crystal ring. Although Qin Feng had killed the legendary boss twice, but Heidi and Dada Long and others did not think that they could despise the brand new legendary boss in front of them. Because this is reality. Even if Qin Feng was just a few seconds late, they might die. Hey, open the door. Let me in first. And the wildcat was anxious at this time. She had just been arguing about entering the barrier to wait for Qin Feng, but she was not allowed to enter. Never expected that a legendary boss would suddenly come. Facing a high-level boss, Heidi and Dada Long and others who were protected by the defensive barrier were still so nervous. Not to mention the wildcat outside the defensive barrier. Now she is in a completely defenseless state. If the boss wants to kill her, it will probably take less than a second. This made her, who was originally impatient, suddenly fall into unimaginable fear. Turn around and run away now. It's impossible. In a hurry, she could only take out a disposable scroll from her backpack. After Heidi and Dada Long conveyed the message as soon as possible, he turned around and went to other places. As the captain of the guard, he had a heavy responsibility in the event of such an emergency. But he suddenly remembered that there was a little wildcat outside. Although he had no good feelings for this woman, he couldn't just stand by and watch her die in such an emergency. "I'll give you permission first. Come in and don't walk around," Heidi and Dada Long said as he turned around. But before he finished speaking, he saw a scene that made his scalp numb. The little wildcat took out a strange scroll directly, opened it, and enchanted it on one of her daggers. Then the dagger emitted a blue light. She flew out instantly, and the dagger in her hand slashed the defensive barrier. Swish! The emerald-level defensive barrier of the Evil Spirit Academy was torn open by her attack. Her black figure passed through the hole instantly without any hesitation, rolled into the defensive barrier, and fell to the ground. Heidi and Dada Long's face suddenly changed. He never expected that this woman could forcibly tear open the defensive barrier. Although it seemed to be a one-time precious scroll, it was completely beyond his expectations. "What do you mean?" The little wildcat's face was also very ugly now. "Who told you to stop me outside? Don't let people save themselves." But before she finished speaking, she suddenly felt something was wrong. Because under the gray sky, she suddenly saw that in front of her on the ground in front of her. The shadow of a cube was getting bigger and bigger. Wonderful. Is this a human? The dark legendary Rubik's Cube actually passed through the crack in the barrier and flew into the defensive barrier leisurely. The Rubik's Cube looked around, and the sound of the electric current was transmitted to the ears of everyone around, making everyone's face look extremely ugly. How is it possible? The little wildcat's face turned pale. She suddenly realized she seemed to have made an extremely stupid mistake. The woman looked back at the crack in the defensive barrier in disbelief, only to see that the crack was less than half a meter wide and was rapidly recovering and shrinking. Impossible. This boss is so big, how did it pass through the crack? The little wildcat looked unbelievable. The mechanical Rubik's Cube heard the words of the people around it and was directly instilled with the Daxia language. After a pause, several eyes on one side looked at the little wildcat together. "You mean like this?" As the mechanical Rubik's Cube spoke. The mechanical Rubik's Cube, with a diameter of 3 or 4 meters, suddenly shrank to a diameter of less than half a meter, then grew larger, and then shrunk again. It can grow larger and smaller. Are you surprised? The mechanical Rubik's Cube laughed loudly. "Alpaca." The little wildcat cried loudly. At this moment, she felt that she had lost her strength and fell to the ground, looking ashen. It's not good to curse. The mechanical Rubik's Cube smiled and looked at the surroundings, which were extremely vigilant. Some people ran away, and some people came up to stop it, which surprised it. The humans of Daxia are very interesting. The eyes of the mechanical Rubik's Cube scanned those who wanted to stop it one by one, and seemed to be very interested at the same time, it said. But you don't have to be afraid. If Helga Vasinger wanted to kill you, he would have covered the 5-kilometer radius with the superordinate affix. Good Hunting Gezerderboku from North America said that you have a very strong assassin here, and Helga Vasinger is very interested. As long as Helga Vasinger has fun, you don't have to die. Wait, the strong assassin they are talking about. Isn't it you? Suddenly, more than a dozen electronic eyes of the mechanical Rubik's Cube looked at the little wildcat sitting on the ground. If this is what they are talking about, then it will be very disappointed. It's not me. It's not me. When the little wildcat heard that the boss would not kill people, he immediately regained hope and shook his head vigorously. It's Shadow. They are talking about Shadow. Shadow is very powerful. You play with him. At this time, Qinfeng had been teleported from the Pure Soul Land, hearing what the little wildcat said. He was a little speechless. Qinfeng never expected it. The defensive barrier was not torn open by the boss, but by the female assassin of the Rose Guild. What a pitfall. However, what surprised Qinfeng was that this mechanical Rubik's Cube was really very martial. Sure enough, this mechanical Rubik's Cube is different from ordinary boss. I really didn't expect that this boss would be sent to me by the North Americans. Qinfeng was no longer in a hurry and slowly walked out of the darkness. At this moment, the torn hole in the defensive barrier of the Evil Spirit Academy's hideout was healing. Qinfeng knew that it was a one-time prop called Break the Boundary Scroll, which could allow people to directly break the defensive barrier, no matter how strong the barrier was. The effect of this scroll is naturally not as good as Qinfeng's Shield Disintegration Order, but for ordinary players, it is indeed the best way to break the defensive barrier. I didn't expect it was used on the defensive barrier of my own guild. Qinfeng glanced at the little wildcat who fell to the ground and even peed in fear, and ignored her for the time being. I am Shadow. Qinfeng turned his head and looked at the legendary boss flying in the air. The mechanical Rubik's Cube. Around the Rubik's Cube, there were more than a dozen Skydome guildmasters, including Heidi and Dadao Long, who surrounded the boss, even if they knew they were no match for the opponent. They were willing to cover the back and buy time for the others to retreat, but they didn't expect that Shadow would arrive so quickly. It's only been a few seconds. Is it so fast? Shadow is here, great. My legs are weak. Cao Dan. If you let me do it again, I may not have the courage to stay and cover the back. Heidi and Dadao Long and his men were originally determined to die, but after seeing Qinfeng, they all felt relieved. In their eyes, Shadow is invincible. And farther away, there were many Skydome Guild players who were dragged into combat and unable to enter the game. Some of them were not even players. There were old people, children, and most of the adults were women. As for more buildings, many people were in a semi-transparent online state. This part of the players was reminded that everyone should not log off, lest they encounter the legendary boss. Are you the Shadow? The legendary boss, the mechanical cube, saw Qinfeng next to him and immediately became interested. Its more than 10 electronic eyes blinked, and its entire body became smaller and larger. It surrounded Qinfeng and observed him carefully for several seconds. A level 30 assassin hidden profession. It is indeed much stronger than other players in this civilization. So, what are your skills? Can you bring some fun to Helga Vasinger? This boss still spoke in electronic music, and the trembling electric sounds spread all around, making the people around him terrified. Qinfeng smiled when he heard this. He looked at the mechanical cube. You should be very lucky that you didn't do anything to others. As a thank you, I can kill you without being invisible. Hearing this, everyone around changed their faces. It's not just Haiden, Dada Long, and others. There is also Shili Qing Shanyuan, Zhang Jinxuan, who heard the news and rushed over at the fastest speed. For safety reasons, she stopped her grandfather, old Zhang, and came alone. And she was riding a flying paper crane, which was drawn by herself. The fighting power of the Soul Painter sister is already quite good, especially in positional warfare. Even compared with Heibelin Delizi, Chuichin, and others, she would not be at a disadvantage. Senior. You don't hide to fight the legendary boss. Zhang Jinshin just flew over on the paper crane and heard this. And her face was confused, not to mention the members of the Sky Guild. Even the mechanical cube was a little confused, but the mechanical cube soon got angry, and it snorted with a mechanical voice. You are an assassin, and you don't hide. This is looking down on Helga Vasinger. Qinfeng was too lazy to say more to it. The black death wings behind him spread out, and the 6 wings fluttered, carrying him to the front of the mechanical cube. How about this? What he showed was the bloodline of the Deathwing Angel, from the Orthodox Temple of the Goddess of Death. Finally, when the mechanical cube saw the Deathwings behind him, it seemed extremely excited. Very good, very good, very exciting. Only Qin Feng knew. The composition of this mechanical cube is a real fun man. And this guy is different from other bosses in that it does not seem to be a complete individual, but a kind of ethnic diversion consciousness. When it dies, it will upload all the data and information recorded in the Blue Star civilization, this time to a higher level field. Qin Feng does not know more about the specific situation. In short, this guy is not really dead when he dies, so unlike other bosses, his mentality is completely different. At this time, Qin Feng promised the other party that he would not be invisible during the battle. Not because he was arrogant, nor was he really grateful to the other party for not attacking other humans, but he didn't want all his combat power to be recorded by this guy and then uploaded, so he simply didn't become invisible. Anyway, to kill this legendary boss, you really don't need the ability to be invisible, so you can hold back for now. Qin Feng waved at the mechanical cube. Turn off your upper affix surround. Let everyone else go online, so that I can fight you to my heart's content. The mechanical cube was alert. What if you also go online and run away? Qin Feng laughed. Wouldn't that be more fun? You can immerse yourself in the experience of waiting for the rabbit. Stay here and wait for us to starve to death. Or go offline to be killed by you. Isn't it fun? The mechanical cube heard it and it made sense. He laughed out a mechanical tremor of sizzle sizzle. Okay. As the mechanical cube temporarily closed its superordinate affix surround, Qin Feng finally breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he had been very vigilant, fearing that this thing would suddenly burst out and kill people. After all, even if Qin Feng wanted to kill this thing, it would not be done in an instant. In the process of Qin Feng killing the mechanical cube, if this boss really wanted to kill people, Qin Feng could not stop it. If that was the case, Qin Feng would have only one way to save people. That is, to kill everyone else first, send them to the place of judgment, and then release them later. But in this way, a lot of divinity would be consumed, and the other party's identity as a player in the godforsaken game that was lost due to death would have to be copied and pasted, which was quite troublesome for Qin Feng. But fortunately, this mechanical cube was really a funny man and could agree to this. When everyone around was online, the mechanical cube would not be able to cause harm to them, and Qin Feng would have no worries. Just when Qin Feng was happily communicating with the mechanical cube, in the East China Sea, the 6 Florida players lurking in the deep sea began to be a little confused. Originally, they saw from afar that the dark upper-level affix energy was surrounding the Evil Spirit Academy, and knew that the mechanical cube had successfully landed. This made them all excited, and a little nervous at the same time. Success. But I'm a little nervous? Wouldn't the boss be killed by Shadow? I don't think it's possible. After all, there are so many of us, and we have tried so many methods, but we can't cause any damage to the boss. I believe God will protect us. But why haven't they started fighting over there yet? Yeah, there's no movement at all, which is a bit strange. It's okay, as long as we don't hear the boss's first kill. Think about it on the bright side. Could Shadow have been killed? It's really possible. After all, there will be no prompts when Shadow is killed. Maybe he was killed by the cube without a sound. Unfortunately, the 6 invisible Florida players had no idea that Qin Feng had reached an agreement with the mechanical cube inside the Evil Spirit Academy. In front of the legendary boss, everyone was tense. Everyone. Go online. Don't log off until you hear the system prompt that I killed the boss. Qin Feng raised his hand and said solemnly to everyone around him, in front of the legendary boss. Everyone's mood was tense. After hearing Qin Feng's words, they all logged into the game without any hesitation, and their bodies became translucent. Even Zhang Jingxuan was the same. Although she wanted to stay and see how Qin Feng killed the boss, but she knew that she couldn't bring any pressure to Qin Feng. Fortunately, before Zhang Jingxuan went online, she saw Qin Feng took out a light and shadow crystal. Hey, master, do you want to record the process of killing the boss and show it to us later? Zhang Jingxuan's heartbeat accelerated a little, and she was a little expectant. But she didn't ask any more questions, but closed her eyes and logged into the game, since everyone else around had logged into the godforsaken game and entered a translucent, invincible state in reality. Qin Feng felt relieved. Next! He was no longer in a hurry. When he took out the light and shadow crystal, put it aside, opened the record, and asked the mechanical cube, tell me first, who sent you to Ardaxia? The mechanical cube is now in a very excited state. The human player in front of it actually has the bloodline of the Deathwing Angel, which is difficult for a powerful civilization to get in the late stage. And now, the Blue Star civilization has only restarted the reincarnation for more than a month. How can it not be excited? Because of this, it also has a lot of patience with Qin Feng. Otherwise, how could it be so easy to talk to? At this time, hearing Qin Feng's question, it did not refuse, and directly said the code names of more than a dozen North American players. Okay, I have to do something. Qin Feng nodded, then raised his hand and brought the Abyss Puppet that he was leveling up to his side. The Abyss Puppet spread its death wings and flew towards the northeast. As for Ice City, Qin Feng didn't plan to go there himself, so he just let the puppet go there. The Abyss Puppet was enough to deal with the epic boss. Finally, Qin Feng also logged into the godforsaken game. The mechanical cube thought he was going to run away. Fortunately, Qin Feng went offline again after a few seconds, and no one knew what he did when he went online. Immediately afterwards, Qin Feng released Osiris and Grey Chicken. I'm going to play with Brother Cube. Do you want to watch and cheer me up? Qin Feng asked with a smile. Osiris and Grey Chicken immediately shrank together when they saw this, and both shook their heads vigorously. Osiris became even more alert. Boss, you don't want to take some damage on purpose. Transfer the damage to us and kill us. Do you? Gray chicken. I know. The Emperor wants to retaliate against our previous nonsense? Osiris scratched the gray chicken with his claws. Nonsense. Why are you talking nonsense? We are just speaking out of our feelings. The two guys complained as if no one was around. The mechanical cube laughed at a burst of electric vibrations. This assassin has this method. Transferring damage to pets and mounts. It's a bit fun, but it's useless to Helga Vasinger. Osiris? Look, this guy doesn't know he's kicked the iron board. Gray chicken nodded in agreement. It never dreamed of how it would die. Mechanical cube. This guest, who came all the way from North America, was stunned for a moment. No matter what, it is also a legendary boss, right? It was actually ridiculed by two epic pets and mounts. However, the mechanical Rubik's Cube was not angry. After all, people who have fun will not get angry, so it was even happier. Helga Vasinger is looking forward to it more and more. The mechanical Rubik's Cube turned around and looked at Qin Feng. Ignoring the pair of Crouching Dragon and Phoenix, when will the assassin of Blue Star start to entertain Helga Vasinger? Come on. Qin Feng did not delay anymore. The reason why he released Osiris and Gray Chicken was actually just to be more secure. After all, this is reality. Once they die, they are really dead. Even if Qin Feng understands all the mechanisms of this boss, he will not be contemptuous or careless, although he is not invisible. That is because, even if the spatial coordinate system mechanism of this boss is broken and it can be hurt, it also has a very low injury limit, with a maximum damage of 666 points each time. In this case, Qin Feng doesn't need to be invisible, because invisibility only increases the damage for Qin Feng, and the maximum single damage of attacking the mechanical cube is only 666 points. What's the point of such a high damage increase? So, this time Qin Feng plans to kill the opponent with the instant death affix. However, although the mechanical cube is not as strong as the Great Disaster Hades, it can completely clear the upper affix scale, but it can also quickly reduce its own upper scale. Because of this, it is a protracted battle to kill the mechanical cube. Otherwise, Qin Feng would have killed it right away, so why would he waste time talking to it? The first one is the Deathwing Angel, the second one is the Kasha Magic Mirror, and the third one is the Mechanical Cube. Legendary boss is still troublesome. These three guys, if there are other people around, it is really difficult to deal with them. At this moment, Qin Feng was also very fortunate that the mechanical cube was sent from North America. If this was any other thing, the Sky Dome Guild and the nearby official guilds would definitely suffer heavy casualties this time. Of course, from another perspective, if it weren't for the fun boss of the mechanical cube, those North American players would have no chance of reaching a cooperation with the boss. When the mechanical cube heard Qin Feng say start, the dark cube flew directly into the sky, the death wings behind Qin Feng spread out, and it instantly caught up like a rocket. Helga Vasinger will give you 1 minute first. The mechanical cube made an electric vibration and laughed very confidently. If you can hurt Helga Vasinger within 1 minute, you can save your life in the end. It was very confident, but it hadn't finished speaking. Then Qin Feng flapped his wings and instantly flew to a specific coordinate point, raised his hand and threw a shadow blade. Snap, since it was in reality. There was no damage number, but the shadow blade scraped across the black cube surface, leaving a scratch. Obviously, this broke its invincibility mechanism. The mechanical cube instantly widened its dozen electronic eyes, and the purple-black electric net wrapped around its body also burst with a sizzle. It never thought that the human assassin in front of it would hurt it directly in the first shot. This human is so lucky, just standing at a specific coordinate point. The mechanical cube couldn't help thinking, but then 2 seconds later, the number above its head changed, which meant that the 6 coordinate points that could hurt it also changed. Just when it thought that Qin Feng just relied on luck and happened to hurt it once, Qin Feng moved instantly. Shadow of Killing. 5 shadow clones were released. Then, the 5 shadow clones and Qin Feng's original body released the shadow folding together and arrived at a specific coordinate point in an instant. At this time, the number that appeared on the top of the mechanical Rubik's Cube was 41633. Most people would be confused when seeing this number, and they would not know what it meant. But Qin Feng took a look and calculated it in less than a second. This number is the product of 17, 31, and 79. This mechanism looks difficult, but in fact there is a pattern to follow. The 3 multiplied numbers have a characteristic, that is, they are all prime numbers, and they are all 2-digit prime numbers. There are only 21 2-digit prime numbers in total. Then start to calculate from the last digit. With Qin Feng's current thinking speed, he can calculate it within 1 second. The front and back of the mechanical Rubik's Cube are the x-axis, the left and right are the y-axis, and the top and bottom are the z-axis. There are 6 coordinates that can cause damage to it. 17, 31, 79, 17, 79, 31, 31, 17, 79, 31, 79, 17, 79, 17, the 1, 79, 31, 17. The coordinate numbers are in meters. In other words, if you want to cause damage to the mechanical Rubik's Cube, you must not only calculate the spatial coordinate point in a short time, but also accurately fly to the coordinate point by visually measuring the distance from the mechanical Rubik's Cube. This difficulty can be imagined. In comparison, The mechanisms of the Kasham Magic Mirror and the Deathwing Angel are not so perverted. Of course, this is also because Qin Feng's original math skills were good. If you are originally bad at math, even if your mental attributes reach several thousand points, it is difficult to calculate directly, because the improvement of mental attribute on thinking speed is based on the original level of the player, and it is improved in multiples. For example, some civilians in North America who grew up with so-called happy education can't even do addition and subtraction of two-digit numbers. In this case, the foundation is really too poor. If you can't calculate, you can't calculate. No matter how fast you calculate, it's equivalent to 0. No matter how many times it is multiplied, it is still 0. Even if the mental attribute is more than 5, like Qin Feng now. It is impossible to calculate the 3 numbers representing the spatial coordinate system. Of course, after the mental attribute is high, the learning speed and ability will generally be faster, but almost not many people will choose to learn mathematics after the mental improvement. Just when the number above the mechanical Rubik's Cube turned into 4163, Qin Feng calculated the coordinates. Directly a solemn shadow, 5 shadow clones in him. The shadow folded to the corresponding 6 coordinate points, 1 Qin Feng, plus 5 shadow clones. All flew to the upper right front of the mechanical Rubik's Cube, then Shadow Blade, Shadow Blade, Shadow Blade. The 6 coordinate points are all 86, 55 meters away from the mechanical Rubik's Cube. At this distance, Qin Feng's other skills cannot attack the mechanical Rubik's Cube. The close-range skill of Thousand Blades Break is even less likely to be used, so only Shadow Blade can be used. Fortunately, the Shadow Blade has evolved to the ancient level, and now the longest attack distance is 60 meters. With the 190% range increase of the ring, that is 179. 4 meters, even if the 3 largest numbers 83, 89, and 97 form a coordinate system. The distance between the 6 coordinates and the mechanical Rubik's Cube is only 155, 62 meters. No matter how the numbers above the mechanical Rubik's Cube change, Qin Feng can always attack it with Shadow Blade. And now that Qin Feng's agility effect has been enhanced, he can release more than 6 Shadow Blades per second. This is before using the robbery hand to steal the boss's attributes. Qin Feng intends to save this skill for later use, so it is a good idea to keep it for now. As for control skills, such as the Abyss Slow Curse and the Abyss Silence Curse, they are obviously useless. Qin Feng alone has not specialized in many control skills, so it is impossible to break the inviolable affix on the boss. And when Qin Feng calculated, created shadows, and threw out shadow blades in just 1 second, the whole body of the mechanical cube was constantly scratched and scratched by the flying shadow blades. If it is in the game, you can see that each of these shadow blades can cause 666 damage, which can also wear down the durability of the mechanical cube in reality. This shocked the mechanical cube instantly. Just now it thought that Qin Feng was lucky and just flew to the coordinate point that could hurt it. But now it certainly knows. Qin Feng is not lucky. You are well prepared. Could it be that you are really a genius? The mechanical cube realized that the human assassin in front of it was weird. Too weird? Logically speaking, its mechanism could not possibly leaked in advance. Why did this man know its mechanism? In its worldview, the only possibility is Qin Feng is a genius, especially sensitive to numbers. Just now, I delayed time with it just to observe the numerical pattern above its head. Interesting. Interesting. It's a bit fun. The mechanical Rubik's Cube got excited. It didn't worry about being killed by Qin Feng at all, because the 666 points of damage was a drizzle compared to its total blood volume of 500 million. Of course, it is not completely invincible. Although it has a very low injury limit, its defect is that it cannot recover blood, even if it leaves the battle. But it was soon stunned, because it found that Qin Feng and the 5 shadow clones threw 6 or 7 shadow blades at it every second. In just 3 seconds, more than 100 shadow blades were thrown. These shadow blades attacked directly superimposed the instant death scale on it. Normally, Qin Feng would allocate 5 to 10 points to each of the higher level affixes, so that one skill could trigger the 140% additional damage increase brought by the source of the higher level, but the mechanical cube has a damage limit. So this damage increase is useless. So he allocated all the higher level affixes to the instant death affix, counting the doubling of the higher level affixes after the shadow warp. Qin Feng's instant death affixes now exceed 100 points in just 3 seconds. The mechanical cube has more than 10,000 points of the instant death scale. Of course, in reality, it can't see how much instant death scale is on its head. But based on the dead black instant death energy surrounding it, it realized that its instant death scale has now been stacked to about 30%. Frog fun. What's going on? The mechanical cube was shocked again. It was completely unimaginable that a level 30 assassin player actually had such a high instant death affix. You should know that the instant death affix is the most difficult super affix to stack. No doubt about it. With more than 100 instant death affixes, an ordinary knife can kill people at will. This is already equivalent to the level of the killing executioner. However, the mechanical Rubik's Cube was not afraid. What is there to be afraid of? So the more than 10 electronic eyes of the mechanical Rubik's Cube began to release and surround the purple-black current, and looked at Qin Feng with great excitement. Helge Vassinger decided to break his promise. Watch this. Originally, this boss said that it would give Qin Feng a minute, but now it won't give it. It knows. If it continues to give it, it will be in vain. It is not afraid of death, but it is afraid of death for no reason. If it dies in a confused state, then the information collected will be too little. It is not easy to meet a Qinfeng, so even if it dies, it must collect more information about Qinfeng. So its skills exploded. Hundreds of purple-black lightning snakes gathered around it, flew towards the sky, and instantly attacked Qinfeng from all directions.